You ready for this? This is the first video of a series of a summary on Think and Grow Rich. So the first chapter of Think and Grow Rich is a little section that's called Thoughts Are Things. But we're going to go ahead and start with Desire, which is the second chapter, but I'm going to call it chapter 1 for the purpose of this video series. So we're going to go chapter by chapter, starting with Desire. So I'm actually going to talk about 6 very important steps that are outlined by Andrew Carnegie. So this is going to be somewhere in the middle of the video, so be sure to stick around and look for that. Step 1, if you want something, you have to have a desire for it first before you even take the subsequent steps. The first step towards a goal is desire. That's what this chapter starts with. So in this chapter, Desire, Napoleon Hill says there's something that someone needs which is called definiteness of purpose. Definiteness of purpose is broken down into 2 different subsections. Number 1 is the knowledge of what one wants. And number 2 is the burning desire to possess it. So you got to know what you want, and you got to have a burning desire to possess it. So in the chapter Desire, Napoleon Hill goes over 6 steps that were created actually by Andrew Carnegie. So we're going to go through those 6 steps, and I'll read them to you in order, and I'll give you a quick example of what you need to do. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and read you straight out of the book what it says, okay? So the first step is fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. Be definite in the amount. There is a psychological reason for definiteness to which will be described in a subsequent chapter. So basically the first step is saying you need to be very specific about the amount of money. You could, if you're planning to use these steps to lose weight, then you could say, I want to lose specifically 50 pounds, but you need to have an exact amount. And there's a reason for it that they're going to talk about later, which is basically when you fix a certain amount in your mind, the author believes that through some sort of unknown law or character of this universe, our subconscious will devise a way for it to come about. Okay, so we're going to get into that later. The last section of this chapter, I'm going to mention, we're going to touch on it, okay? Step number 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There is no such reality as something for nothing. So this basically kind of dispels the whole get-rich-quick scheme. So don't think you're going to go and think about a certain number if you want, like I want $1 million and then I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket and get it. It's a little bit more basic and practical than that. So let's say you want, let's say $100,000 and you want to acquire that in the course of 3 years. So you would say, okay, specifically 3 years from now, I want to make exactly $100,000, and in return, I'm going to mow lawns, or I'm going to make YouTube videos. Whatever the case is, you just have to create some kind of value for somebody. You can write books and publish them on Amazon. Yeah, you got the idea. So step number 3, establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. So you can say by January 31st of 2020, or of 2025. Just set a specific date. It's pretty basic. Step number 4. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not, to put this plan into action. So I like this, and obviously with this YouTube channel is basically what I'm doing as well. So just start at once. If you're thinking of starting a YouTube channel and you're not really sure if you're ready, just start and do something. Or if you're thinking of saving money by mowing lawns, the example we used earlier, just start. Just start with something and start saving. Just basically try something. You got to take some kind of action and start at once, even if you think you're not ready yet. So I think you got the idea for this one too now. Step number 5. So write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire, name the time limit for its acquisition, state what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. So this is kind of combining the other steps together into one, where you're going to actually write out a concrete statement that you're going to stick to. And this is super important. I did this to help me with my other YouTube channel, and I think it's actually paying off, and it really helps in a way that I didn't expect. If you've ever read a self-help book or listened to some kind of summary or lecture on the self-help book, they've probably told you to do something cheesy like this, like write down your dreams or make a little poster board. And I don't know if you've ever done it, but I had not until I read this book, and I recommend it strongly. This one's pretty simple too. You just write it down really quick. So you say, I'm going to basically break it down. Okay, so you want to have a specific date. So let's say 2025, January 31st of 2025, you want to save and give the exact amount, $100,000 exactly, or whatever you want. And then you need to specify exactly what you're going to do. In return for that money, I will mow lawns, I will make YouTube videos, I will write books, I will be a consultant for whatever people, just some kind of service that you can provide, that you can be helpful to somebody else. And then you just got to write that statement down, stating all of those things. Number 6. So number 6 is actually very important. This is part of the cheesiness that I was talking about. What you need to do now is, well, let me read it real quick for you. It says, read your statement aloud twice daily, once before retiring at night and once after rising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. Okay, so part of being successful is you have to actually envision it, because when we imagine these things, the author of the book believes that our subconscious mind will start to be put to work to devise ways of making it happen. Basically, that statement that we made on step 5, you read it as soon as you wake up in the morning and right before you go to sleep. I've been doing this actually, and it's kind of funny at night. I mean, my son and my wife hear me, and I'm sure it sounds pretty cheesy, but I just do it anyway, and it helps because you go to sleep remembering your goals and your dreams, and you remember when you wrote it down, and in the morning when you read it again, it motivates you to want to work on it. And this is super helpful. I really hope that you guys try this out on something. Okay, so now that we went through that, let's continue with the summary of this chapter. So another section of this chapter is called Desire Outwits Mother Nature. And Napoleon Hill gives this very heartwarming and personal story about his son. So Napoleon Hill's son was born deaf, and the doctor said that he would be deaf and mute his whole life. So he instills in his son a keen desire to be able to hear and be normal. And this may sound kind of cruel, like why would you want your son to want to be normal and want to be able to hear when you know that he can't? Well, Napoleon Hill did this because he believes that that desire is actually going to be able to shape his son into somehow being able to hear later. So let me continue. So when Napoleon Hill's son became an adult, he eventually gained the ability to hear through an instrument that was sent to him. There was some kind of experimental technology that this company was developing, and they sent it to his son, and his son decided to try it out despite many times that they had given him hearing aids before that didn't work out. And to his son's surprise, he was able to hear for the first time in his life and be more like a normal person. His son went on to change many lives by helping the company reach thousands of deaf people who now were given access to this technology. So this chapter has an underlying theme that other people have called the secret, and I won't go too far into it because I don't understand it too much myself. Well, from what I do understand, it's kind of saying that when we desire something with all of our heart and we're thinking about it all of the time, nature somehow finds a way to help it come about, as long as we're putting our effort into it and we really believe it. So the theme is summarized well in the last sentence of this chapter, which I'm going to go ahead and read to you because I think it's a very important sentence, not only in this chapter, but in the entire book. So here it goes. You ready for this? Here it goes. Through some strange and powerful principle of mental chemistry, which she has never divulged, nature wraps up in the impulse of strong desire that something which recognizes no such word as impossible and accepts no such reality as failure. So it's a very powerful statement. If you want to, I recommend listening to it again because it's a lot to take in one statement. So if you want to learn more from this book, Think and Grow Rich, I strongly recommend subscribing. You'll help me out. It's free. And I will continue to summarize each chapter as I read along, giving you the meat and potatoes, if you will, or giving you the most inspiring and motivating parts that I find.